Welcome to Coreum Concepts. Today we're going to look at Coreum and the architecture that it's running on, and more specifically we're going to look at the staking, the bonded proof of staking. The reason why I bring this up is I've had a few conversations in Twitter spaces that some people don't quite understand what bonded proof of staking is. They have concerns about slashing, and I just thought it was appropriate for new users to maybe understand what they're getting into before they enter into staking, understand the reasons why it's there and potential risks, and clear up a lot of misinformation that's out there in these spaces because people just don't understand it for what it is. So hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for stopping by. Please leave a like and subscribe and comment if you find some value in this video. And here we go. Coreum, it's interoperable, scalable, and fast. It's a third generation layer 1 blockchain built to serve as a core infrastructure for future decentralized applications. Community powered consensus mechanism. Coreum uses a bonded proof of stake consensus mechanism that allows for staking, non-custodial delegating, slashing, and governance. Has a 99% lower carbon footprint. Validators, rewards, and token issuance. Variable inflation. On each block, some tokens will be minted and added to a rewards pool. The inflation value will be inversely proportional to the total value locked. With native support for the issuance of any fungible and non-fungible assets on-chain, Coreum takes asset issuance and minting to the next level. Built-in functionality even allows issuers to customize their tokenized assets with optional features for when it comes to heavily regulated financial markets like stocks and ETFs. Some of these features would include wallet whitelisting, token burning, and token freezing. The core token is a native token of the Coreum blockchain, a transactional token that facilitates all operations and functionalities within the network. Along with the built-in non-custodial bridge functionality, Coreum has a built-in, full-featured decentralized exchange module with a synthetic order book functionality. Some of Coreum's use cases: tokenized securities, Sologenic, liquidity providers and market makers, KeyRock, stablecoins, cross-border payments, banking and remittance, SWIFT, lending platforms like BlockFi and Nexo, wrapped cryptos like ERC20 and BSC20, metaverse applications, Decentraland, Sandbox, Meta, decentralized exchanges, Uniswap and the Sologenic DEX, the Sologenic DEX and OpenSea, and gaming, Axie Infinity. Coreum, one blockchain for all, technical white paper. That title just made me smile the first time I read it. I was like, it's a bold statement, but as we get closer, you never know. We'll see what they got. But so far, so good. They're sticking with their plan. They seem confident with their plan, and we're going to find out soon enough. It's just around the corner. At the heart of every blockchain lies the consensus mechanism. Coreum utilizes Tendermint, a well-established consensus engine that many blockchains rely upon. The Cosmos SDK makes use of Tendermint to provide tooling and pre-made modules for the building of application-specific blockchains with a proof-of-stake security mechanism. Coreum will be built on top of Tendermint and Cosmos SDK while making changes whenever necessary. This will allow the new Layer 1 to tap into the vast ecosystem built around Cosmos SDK, such as wallets, explorers, and other modules. More formally, Tendermint Core performs Byzantine fault tolerance BFT, state machine replication SMR, for arbitrary deterministic finite state machines. Tendermint brings decades-old academic research on BFT into the world of blockchain and facilitates high-throughput, low-latency proof-of-stake blockchain, which is not only fast but also hugely more power efficient than proof-of-work. Interoperability with other blockchains. Coreum will enable communication to and from other blockchains. Users will be able to transfer tokens from external blockchains into Coreum and vice versa. This interoperability works by locking or burning the tokens in the source chain and minting them in the target chain. Thus, when the token is transferred back from the target chain onto the source chain, it is burned on the target and unlocked in the source. For Cosmos SDK-based chains, Coreum will use IBC protocol, which is available as an open source component. IBC is an interoperability protocol designed for communicating arbitrary data between arbitrary state machines. It consists of two layers. One, a data transfer layer, and two, an application layer. The IBC protocol can be used for different use cases, including but not limited to transfers, interchain accounts, delegate calls between two chains, and Oracle data feeds. Coreum will implement communication layers either via IBC or bridge to communicate with the following blockchains, with more to follow down the line: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, Binance Chain, Binance Smart Chain, and Cosmos. Sidechains. Coreum is incurring heavy research and development around the use of sidechains for exponential scalability and the production of more throughput when needed. A single chain can do up to 7,000 simple transactions per second. Consequently, by adding a single sidechain, the throughput is increased to 14,000. Of course, there are applications that cannot run on multiple sidechains, for example, a DEX. For such use cases, a dedicated sidechain will run individually. The image below provides an overview on how the sidechains will look like. So all added up, the 6 chains got 42,000 transactions per second. So why we're here, proof of stake. As mentioned before, Coreum will use the SDK bonded proof of stake security scheme to build its own blockchain. A short description of the most important parts of the BPoS will be provided here. Staking is one of the most important components of a proof of stake blockchain. It ensures the network remains secure while giving validators and delegators a passive income by staking their core tokens and getting reward. In fact, staking is the backbone of every proof of stake consensus. A proof of stake consensus or network is secured when a stakeholder locks their tokens and gets voting power in exchange. Then they use that power to vote on each block. The assumption is that it's benefit of the stakeholders to secure the network, since the value of their assets depend on the security of the network itself. It can be deduced that the more tokens that are locked at stake, the more secure the network is. For example, if the total value locked at stake is about 1% of the entire token value, then if an attacker controls 1/3 of that 1%, they can halt the network. But if 75% is locked as total value, then they need to control 25% of the total value to halt the network. So a proof of stake network must encourage its participants to stake and reach a reasonably high total value lock percentage. Given the fact the only incentivization mechanism in a proof of stake is block rewards, then if there are enough transactions in each block, more fees will be collected and more people will stake their tokens. But if there are not enough transactions happening, then the rewards will be too low and the total value locked will go down, bringing risk to the network. To accommodate for that problem, variable inflation is introduced, meaning that some tokens will be minted in each block, added to block rewards alongside fees, and passed to the validators and delegators to incentivize them to provide more stake. And the amount of inflation rate is inversely proportional to total value locked. If total value locked is equal or higher than the target value, then the inflation rate goes down to its minimum, and if not, it will go up, but there is an upper limit to the inflation rate. These tokens will be minted in a manner that a maximum yearly inflation rate is observed. It is evident that the minting will introduce inflation to the system, which will further incentivize non-stakers to effectively stake their tokens so their assets don't lose value. It must be noted that if there are enough transactions in each block and enough incentivization is produced from the transaction fees so that stakers are locking enough stake to meet the target total value locked, then the inflation will not be necessary and will automatically go down to zero. So then there's the validator. So the public validator, introduced to allow any network user to participate in the consensus and contribute to the security of the network. To increase decentralization, any network participant can become a public validator by staking a minimum amount of core tokens. Individuals can also step down from being a public validator, however their stake will stay locked for some time after the called unbounding period. And then there's the super validator. Any public validator can become a super validator by submitting a proposal via on-chain governance and getting more than 50% of the votes from all the validators. The reasoning behind introducing super validators is to add more trust to a circle of validators by introducing social trust. In other words, having a mix of super and public validators will allow Coreum to have the same level of security with less validators compared to only having public validators, which in turn translate in delivering a more throughput and less latency while keeping the same security guarantees. A super validator at any time may decide to step down and go back to being a public validator. And it is also possible for other token holders to submit a proposal to demote other super validators from being a super validator. So I did a video the other day about the Core Heroes NFT project, and basically it's a they're planning on running a super validator, or getting to be a super validator anyways, and it's going to be a community run validator. So basically by buying the NFTs, it's creating a pool of funds to buy core off the market with, and they're going to stake it prior to the snapshot, and those rewards from the stake are going to get paid out to the NFT holders, and then obviously the rewards from the block production is going to trickle into the NFT holders too. So that's what the importance of building the community around your validator is because of the trust component of it. So I can see why these projects are utilizing these NFTs and that to build a community around them, to get the validators up and running. So it's not just as simple as anybody just sets up a validator. So it's interesting. So it all ties together, and that's what I'm trying to highlight, these different projects, and especially the ones that focus on community. Delegating. Users who do not wish or do not have the means to become a validator can become delegators. In short, delegators can choose a validator and stake their core. They pay a commission to the validator. The delegators will also get punished if the validator misbehaves, so they must carefully choose who they delegate to avoid punishments. Delegators can also choose to delegate to multiple validators by consigning a portion of their stake to each one. This will help reduce the financial risk of getting slashed if one of the validators misbehaves, so not all of the assets would be subject to a single slashing. Moreover, delegators are expected to actively participate in governance. A delegator's voting power is proportional to the size of their stake with the validator, and if they don't engage in community voting, the power is shifted to the validators. So slashing, and this is the one that I hear a lot of concern and confusion over when we talk about the bonded proof of stake. So we'll go through this one. As important as it is to incentivize the contribution of validators by rewarding them, it is important to punish them on certain occasions for bad behavior. This protocol is called slashing. The mechanism for slashing is taken directly from the Cosmos SDK module with the same name, and readers can refer to that for more details, but a general description will be provided here. Punishments related to slashing include disqualifying a validator from the committee board, capturing or burning some of the validator's stake, or disabling a validator for a brief period of time. There are two main types of penalties when it comes to slashing. Jailing. The misbehaving validator is immediately put into jail, meaning they cannot participate in the next block's voting until some time has passed, and they unjail themselves by issuing a specific transaction. Or two, slashing. A percentage of the staked assets on the validator, alongside the delegators who delegated to that validator, will be deducted and burned. There are two main types of misbehavior. One is liveness misbehavior, i.e. not showing up to vote on a block, and two is counterfactual signing misbehavior, double signing, rejecting a valid block, etc. So that's why it's important to trust who you're staking with, because you're going to want to ensure they have uptime and they're not getting slashed. So when you hear, like I remember when I spoke to the team at Core Heroes, they were very, very adamant about telling me the details on how secure infrastructure that they're using to run their validator, the company that they're using to run the validator with, so they ensure maximum uptime, because that's what happens. So let's say you're running with a system that's not adequate and doesn't have adequate power backup for power interruptions or interrupt disruptions. Like I think the one thing Jerry mentioned is it has like a dual dual internet feed in case one goes down. So I think everything's just redundant. So there's always a backup just to keep the validator up and running. So it's important to check into that. And I know Zen's Lounge, he's setting up a community validator also, and he's using like military grade infrastructure for his validator. So it's very important. So to minimize the risk. So I'm not too sure if the staked amount that you contribute is at any risk or just your rewards. I'm trying to get more clarification through that, and hopefully by the time we get through this, we'll figure that out. So in preparation for this video, I was just doing some research, came across this article, the Proof of Stake Guidebook by Staken. So this article, they're going to shed light on the variants of proof of stake. Proof of stake is often described in comparison to proof of work and is a process through which network validators are incentivized based on the number of tokens they own. Proof of stake was introduced in 2012 by Sonny King. The mechanism elects stakeholders to validate transactions. In proof of stake, the creator of the next block is chosen through a lottery process. In reward for the creation of new blocks, digital assets are rewarded and added to the network. In proof of stake, the amount of stake tokens is what secures the network, unlike in proof of work, where the computing power protects the network. At Staken, we're very bullish on the future of proof of stake cryptos, and we believe that it offers the following pros. Less computer power intensive than proof of work, token holders can earn rewards and interests, and decentralization. Depending on what kind of proof of stake the protocol has adopted, the network can reach full decentralization, which is the initial reason why cryptocurrencies were created. And I think that's clearly what Coreum has created, is a truly decentralized network. It's no ICO, 100% community airdrop. It's been designed that way right from the get-go. So I'm not going to go through all these variations in detail. We're just going to focus on the bonded proof of stake, but I highly encourage you to read the article to understand it. For the technical people, they probably have not made it this far into the video, but if you're new to the ecosystem and you're considering staking your tokens somewhere, even if it sounds like it's safe, it's important to understand all this. And I'll post a link to this Medium article in the description of the video. So the different types, we got delegated proof of stake, got delegated proof of contribution protocol. They're referencing the Icon network for that one. Got a liquid proof of stake. Delegation is optional. Token holders can delegate validation rights to other token holders without custody, meaning that the tokens remain in the delegator's wallet. And then bonded proof of stake. That's what we're talking about here with the Coreum. Bonded proof of stake is similar to the liquid proof of stake. Delegation is optional, non-custodial, and token holders benefit from voting rights in protocol amendments. Although there is a reason why it is called bonded proof of stake, in case of safety or liveness fault, a portion of the validator's and delegator's stake will be slashed. In liquid proof of stake, only the validator is at risk of slashing, while the delegator's only risk is to miss on some rewards interest in case the validator is dishonest or not efficient. So then, to me, that clearly tells us that it's very important that we're choosing a right delegator, or delegating our tokens to a good validator, because our stake is at risk if they are penalized. So extremely important to understand where you're staking your tokens to in this environment. This bonded proof of stake mechanism has the advantage of providing a clear solution to the issue of staking ratios, similar to capital requirements, that some validators on liquid proof of stake protocols have to maintain if they do not want to become over-delegated and disappoint some of their delegators. While it solves this issue, it also means that delegators need to conduct extra due diligence before delegating and remain active in verifying the performance of their validator. Bonded proof of stake was first introduced by projects such as Cosmos and IrisNet, which was built on the Cosmos SDK and Tendermint. Both are very interesting in their interchain protocols to have a look at. We've written a short introduction to IrisNet if you're curious. In bonded proof of stake protocols such as Cosmos and IrisNet, there will be limited number of validators, starting at 100, with a selection based on the size of the total stake, own stake plus delegators. So then there's also a nominated proof of stake. There's a hybrid proof of stake. Pure proof of stake, they reference Algorand on that one. A leased proof of stake. So yeah, I just thought it would be important to highlight the differences of all the staking there is out there. There is some risk involved in staking with Coreum, being that is a bonded proof of stake. But there is going to be other options to earn income on your Coreum. There's once the automated market maker is live, there will be liquidity pools that you can utilize, all kinds of different options. So if you are staking, make sure you understand who you're staking with. Make sure you understand the risks. You don't want to get surprised, and just weigh out the risk-reward ratio. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or otherwise for anybody. I think it's going to be situational dependent. Everybody's got their own different thing going on. So it's just important to be educated, understand what you're getting into to keep your funds safe. So I hope that information was helpful to anybody considering staking on the Coreum network when it becomes live in March. If you found some value, please give a like, subscribe, share the video if you know somebody's unsure of what's going on. There's plenty of people out there that don't quite understand this for what it is, and when you have people looking for information that are new to the ecosystem, and if they're reaching out to people that don't understand it for their answers, it's just problematic and confusing. And I think it's important that we all do our part to educate ourselves and share as much knowledge as we can, because the last thing we want is people coming into this network not understanding what's going on and getting burnt or losing some of their funds because they don't understand the risks involved with staking in this environment. So please do your part to share and keep our community members safe out there. Peace and prosperity to you all.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Invisible power and liftoff of Artemis 437. Go Falcon, go Falcon. Falcon is pushing downrange.
Incredible views that we've been seeing, you can see that Falcon 9 has lifted off from pad 39A, carrying our Starlink payload into space. And we are throttling down the engines in preparation for Max Q. Max Q is the
supersonic.
Max Q is the largest structural load that the vehicle will see on ascent.
Max Q.
There's that call out that we have passed through Max Q. Next up, we do have 4 events happening. That will be MECO, stage separation, SES-1, and then fairing deployment. MECO is main engine cutoff, and that's where all 9 of those engines that you see right now lit up on the first stage, those will shut down and help slow the stage down in preparation for stage separation. That will be when the first stage separates from the second stage. First stage will make its way back down to Earth and land on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.